Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Side Credentials on the Essential Credentials YouTube channel. My name is Matt, former host of the Essential Credentials and now the co-host of the Side Credentials. And of course, my great, fantastic new friend, co-host, guy that keeps me motivated to keep doing these, Ben, has come to hang out. Ben, how are we doing this week so far?
Yes, crushing. We're live. I'm stoked. I love doing these. Yes, Matt has also become a good friend of mine. This is just super fun, and I'll echo that doing these and thinking about this like keeps me engaged in cards. Everyone says you go through like lulls, valleys and peaks through collecting. And sometimes in those valleys, you're like, oh, at least I have something else to look forward to, and that kind of makes you rethink what I'm looking for or how I'm going to be
Right.
collecting. To kind of get me through this period where I'm like feeling like I'm not getting anything in new or I haven't found what I'm looking for. Like this kind of keeps it fun.
For sure, for sure, definitely, and it's something that I've always looked forward to doing these. And so I thought before we really got started, people probably are going to show up to this live or recorded and think like, what exactly is the purpose of Side Credentials? So for the three of you that are hanging out with us, welcome. Feel free to say hello in the comments. We love interacting with people that are here. Many of you have probably watched the Essential Credentials podcast. It's amazing. Greg and Alan recently did their first episode. Hey, what's up, Michael? Nice to see you. So now that I'm working at Upper Deck, it's a lot harder for me to come on the show and be talking about tops and other non-Upper Deck products regularly, but also sticking to the 90s. So for this, it's more open-ended. Ben and I, we love collecting all eras. Ben more of the vintage stuff, which is great, but we want to just kind of come on here and hop on here and talk about some of the mental processes we go through when we're collecting, and also highlight some things that the Essential Credentials might not get to. Like, for instance, today we really want to dive into technology versus photography. Anybody that's collected in the 90s, you would probably say that it was more photography driven and it worked its way into technology driven. Whereas nowadays, what about you, Ben? When you think of modern, is technology like, all the crazy foils and things they put on cards? Is that the thing you think of first?
The thing I think of first, no, because really the picture of the player is going to determine whether I want that card. Because it really,
Okay.
in some instances, you're kind of expecting the same, especially with the way collecting is these days. It's the rookie chase. There's
Yeah.
kind of the same parallels you would expect every year. So
Mm-hmm.
then really, if you're going for that rookie, you really want it to be a card that shows the player doing something cool at this point.
Right.
Because there's not really like a technology benefit. I would say actually the way modern cards are now, there's maybe a detriment in the technology, right? Because now
Mm-hmm.
it's not the collectible, for example, like the gold parallel, if we're talking tops, or even like in Upper Deck, the same thing, like the standard parallels you get every year, those become the more collectible ones. So you really hope the picture on the flagship product is good because,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
it's the museum, whatever other high end product it is. It's not the flagship product, right? And it's not one of the parallels that everyone knows. So it actually can be almost like a detriment to have extra technology on some of the cards, the way people collect today.
Right. No, that's a great point too, right? Because we're in an age now where we are collecting parallels and chasing rainbows. I think if you're collecting modern mostly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I find myself kind of debating, and I would love to know what everybody thinks in here. Like, what is the first thing that draws you to a card? Like if you're looking at a rookie card of a guy that just came out this year, Ellie De La Cruz's rookie card, back when Bo Bichette came out, back in the 90s, you had, the Griffey, the A-Rod, the Jeter, all these things. Like when you're seeing a rookie card or a card of your favorite player, are you immediately going to look at the photo first, or are you looking for something that looks cool because of the technology, right? Like I'm going to start with an example here of a Ken Griffey Jr. from the 90s, one of the best base cards ever made, arguably the best base card ever made. This is the Metal Universe from 96. I think many people are very familiar with this card. For me, it was the photo of Ken Griffey Jr. that really drew me to this card. First of all, because he's got the glasses on, he's got the Mariners teal hat on,
Mm-hmm.
got the pictures of all the planets behind him. So like the artwork and the photography carried the card. The technology, yeah, sure, there's some different foiling on there, which is great. But
Right.
ultimately, what is going to carry your interest in this card? And most of us would say probably the photography, right? So that's, for me, that's the first thing that stood out. Do you have a memory of some of those? Obviously, with growing up collecting, was it the photos on the cards that really gathered your interest and really piqued it, or did the technology play into that more?
I mean, as a kid, anything novel or like looks cool or different is exciting. But it's funny that you happen to pull up that card. I didn't know you were going to pull up that card. I remember when that card came out because that was when I first started collecting, and I ended up buying the Ken Griffey Jr. signature Spalding glove from that picture
Did you
because I saw
really?
that. Yeah, that was like the first time you could really see it. Like,
That's awesome.
yeah, you could see the glove, and you're like, "Oh, that's the glove he uses." I can see it in that picture. Like, I was
Right.
just getting into collecting. I was like, "Well, I got to have that glove too."
Mm-hmm.
So, like, there
Right.
was something about that particular card that, like, yeah, I was so drawn to that card. Loved it as a kid.
Well, Metal Universe is such a photo driven set. It had to be, like, Gene, who works at Upper Deck as well now. I think I've mentioned that, who designed all these. She and I have talked about that set. And we've talked about, how important it was to find photos that worked with the backgrounds. Because I asked her, when you
Oh,
started with
yeah.
Metal Universe, did you start with the player or did you start with the background and then put the player in there? And she said, no, no, no. We had the pictures of the players first, and then we wanted the artist to draw backgrounds that worked with those. Great example. I wish I
Interesting. Okay.
think of Pudge Rodriguez. If anybody in here watching that now, Ben and I know this card, but Ivan Rodriguez, 1996 Metal Universe, his glasses are on, the mask has come off, and he's
Yep.
looking straight up in the air for a pop fly. Well, he's in a tank. He's in like a Bacta tank looking thing, more or less, like a water, right? And he's very narrow on the card and fits perfect in there. So, again, thinking about photos, I think that's where it all has to start, right? The photos, especially now, the photos have to captivate beyond the technology, because so many people are grading and selling PSA orange prisms out of 49 and black prism 101s, yada, yada, yada. The photo has to be amazing, right? That's where I'm at least, right? Photography's got to
Yep.
trump technology, because then when the technology hits on top, you've got like a perfect combination,
So, actually, question for you about the photography then, especially with modern cards. Do you have an issue with a card if you can see how photoshopped the photography is or airbrushed, right? Like, there's a few I can think of, like the Bo Bichette first with him throwing is like
Oh,
such a airbrushed version of his face. It like doesn't look like him. Like, there's almost no likeness to yeah, Wit. It's Wit
yeah.
throwing. Does that bug you at all, or do you consider that?
Depends. I think if it's a game photo, I don't mind. Like Panini, back when they made hockey cards, they were notorious for bringing the contrast way up or way down on photos to like extra darken and sharpen the faces and the play and like the jerseys and the goalie masks and things. I think it kind of gives a fun flavor, but when it's like clearly photoshopped or some rookie photo shoot or something, I don't really find myself being captivated by that. What about yourself?
So yeah, it does bug me. I mean, outside of a good photo of the player playing, I also need it to look like the player.
Right.
I want to be able to like see their face or be able to recognize who it is on the card, right?
Mm-hmm.
Action shots are cool, but if I can't, Stadium Club is an exception. I'll say that because they'll do cool shots where it's like something about the player, right? Like there's
Yeah.
the one year, I don't know if it might have been 2020, they did the Mariano Rivera of him like walking out of the bullpen to the Yankee
Yeah.
Stadium full, and like, yeah, you can't see his face, but that's like an epic moment from his career. Like that you're capturing a moment. That part's cool. But if it's one of those where you just can tell they've just tweaked with the way the player looks so much, it's like
Right.
it's distracting at that point.
For sure. For sure. Want to say something to Matt McNeil? Yeah, definitely. I mean, I had Ray Gerke tag me in a Twitter post about the similarities between Upper Deck in the past and Tops now. That's a topic for another day, because like we all have
Yeah.
that work about that, as you can imagine. I do want to ask, everyone that's here, Matt McNeil especially, he's a big Stadium Club collector, so he'll appreciate this. But what is more important to you? Is it for everybody? And feel free to shoot it in the chat there. Is it photography? Is it technology? Is it a mix of both? ABC. Which one are you going to pick? Because like I got another example for you. Let's look at the home field advantages real quick from Topps. I think we're pretty familiar with these. Most people know these. This is the Julio Rodriguez. This is from last year.
That's one of the good ones too,
Man,
with the needle.
exactly. You've not only got a great photo of Julio, but you've got the Space Needle and you've got a seiner in the background, which is what I did in Alaska, that type of fishing boat for many years. So for me, before there's even any foil on there, you've got this beautiful array of photography, right? Similar to downtowns, but all you're doing is adding rainbow holofoil on the top of it. And now you've got a perfect combination. A little bit of technology, right? Just a little bit. And
Right.
so I think where I fall is I fall in the like if I was going to do a pie chart breakdown or whatever,
Right.
it would be like 80-20, 85-15, right? Like you think about Stadium Club, and then I'll throw it to you. You have a couple of Ichiro Stadium Club cards, right?
Oh yeah.
Like modern. Think about the rainbow foil out of 25. That might be the perfect card for modern because it's
Perfect blend.
photography and a little and just that rainbow holofoil over the top, and then you make it out of 25. You've got a perfect card in my mind.
Perfect blend. And I also think I'll toss this to you. Is there a point where the technology, or have you seen an example where the technology ends up taking away from the card for you?
Yeah. I mean, you go ahead and go first. I'm going to try to think for a minute.
Well, I've got one off the top of my head because I saw some posted today in the Facebook group. The Gem Masters 1-of-1s, the foil they used on there goes over the whole card, including the picture of the player. So when you end up highlighting the foil that they used for the 1-of-1s, you actually kind of lose or can't even really see the player in the card that well. Like it's almost one of those where it would have been better if the player had been like on a separate layer in front of the foil and the foil was like the background, right?
Right.
So it still stood out. So it almost like it's super cool, but I actually don't find them as attractive as just like a PMG that has just the foil on the front, the rainbow foil.
It's really tough too because I'm just taking a peek behind me here and trying to look and see if there's one. I mean, all my cards that are in there because they are very appealing without just the technology. Like the technology helps, but I think I can think of there is a couple cards I've seen where like the foiling that they chose is too dominant over the photo, and so then you're just looking at a foil card with like a silhouette in the background. There are a few times where that's happened, and you got to be careful of that, obviously, right? You can't, you don't want to drown out the photo. Like, if you imagine instead of the rainbow foil in Stadium Club, which they haven't announced the parallels yet, but excuse me, can you imagine if they did like some crazy PMG foil over the top of that? Like, it would be too loud at that point, right?
Yeah, it would distract from the photography.
Yeah, for sure. So I think in terms of you know, there can be too much technology on a card. You're trying to find that balance all the time, right? And then there's times where you don't want any, right? Like,
right.
Think about art-driven sets, right? You got Star Wars Galaxy, Galaxy Chrome. You've got, you know, a lot of non-sport, you know, artist-driven sets, you know, like Marvel masterpieces, right? You know, I think something like that has to be art-driven. The parallels, you don't want them to take away too much. You want maybe a different foil color or something.
But yeah, different foil border kind of thing, just to like change the variation of the card, but not actually affect the art or photography on the card.
Exactly. Like you look at an art-driven set like this Easter egg Fanimation, right? Like these were just such wonderful cards when they came out. Big shout out to my coworker friend Billy who envisioned the flurry with the Vegas behind him like this.
That's super cool.
Not an easy card to get made. That's all I'm gonna say. But you wouldn't want any technology on here, right? It's printed on a canvas stock, which is exactly how it should be. Because then you imagine like putting some crazy foil on this, then you're taking away from the art big time, right? So I think there's still room in this hobby to have cards that are not overly driven by technology. And by technology, like when you hear technology, Ben, what do you think of when it comes to cards?
Yeah, different card stocks, different foils, opening and closing, booklet kind of things. Anything that like changes the nature of the card outside of standard card stock,
right?
With a photo on it. Anything outside of that, I would consider technology.
Yeah, I mean, and so there's so much of that nowadays, right? And you have to keep trying to find, as you can imagine at work. I'm always thinking to myself, like, what is something I can maybe try that hasn't been done? Because we have, the ability to print all these great things. We have to envision it, and sometimes it can be too loud or not enough. And so
Yeah.
it's tough. It's really tough at times finding that balance for sure. And so,
Yeah,
you
I
know, I,
think one of the things I like,
so,
for example, for like I think National Treasures kind of does that well, where
mhm.
it's like they put the foil, it like in the border of the card, and they change the foils
Yeah.
in there, and it's like
Yep.
really nice, but doesn't distract from the overall design of the card, right?
That exactly, but that's them, like, Panini doing that. We've definitely done that with a few sets. Sometimes with the black diamond with the diamonds inside
Black
of it.
Diamond's a really good example of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's some Avengers cards that have the just mostly white background with some diamonds and just some beautiful rainbow foil. I mean, that on like the etching, and that's it.
yep,
So I think there's something to be said finding the balance between that. But I'm always curious to hear, what you and what our viewers think about finding that balance, because sometimes somebody might have an example of something where haven't really thought like, wow, that really does work well together. But I find myself like you to be very photo driven. Like when you collect a guy like Duncan Robinson, for instance, who you can't
yeah,
really see, but half of that's Duncan, the rest is Kobe. And Duncan's not going to get any inserts. He's not going to get any crazy patches and autographs, at least not many. So for me, the photo has to be great on the card. Obviously, the design has to be great in the background, which again is basically the photo, right? Like a lot of people think, like printing and stuff like that. When you learn that it like the whole design is what it is, and then the etching and foiling is afterwards on a different layer. That
right.
shows how important the background design is, right? So I'm looking at most of these Duncans, and I'm just gonna say I've already done my rant, so I'm not gonna rant. But like Duncan Robinson is a shooter. That's what he does. He has this many
Hmm.
cards in the last 2 years shooting a basketball. Now I don't know if their photo department is not really it has a direction. He needs to be dribbling for the next 2 years. Nobody wants to see him shoot. I don't know, but that really matters to me. And I know a lot of other collectors who collect more specific players. Even Tyler Glass now, it's like post one, get a picture with him doing the thing with the glove or like screaming
Hmm.
something like. Does that matter to you? Because I know, Ichiro Griffey, a Griffey backwards hat. He's got so many cards like that. And
Oh yeah. So actually, I happen to have this one sitting here. So Ichiro does a lot of stuff because he was a good fielder as well, right? Like 10 Gold Gloves, whatever. I love this card. I just got it recently,
that's so
and,
sick.
and the technology is cool. And this is a good example of technology combined, where they put him on the front, so he's not covered in the foil, so he stands out.
Mm-hmm.
I like pictures of him fielding, but I mean, his face. He's doing the full like grunt face in the middle of the throw, and
Yep.
it's a very unappealing. Like if this were me on this card and that was the picture they got of me, I'd be like, why did you do that to me?
So you
It's like
actually don't like that?
I like that he's in the field and he's like letting go of a throw. Is his face is like, dude, he's doing like a.
But I
I mean,
mean,
it's a very like unappealing face to look at.
have you ever seen a face of Michael Jordan dunking? Or like Pippen would always bite his lip really hard and like it looked funny, but that's what they're
Yeah, but
known
Jordan
for.
had this like tongue out doing something cool in the air. Like there's an element of like excitement to a
There was,
Jordan dunking,
yeah,
tongue out thing that's different
yeah,
than like you're throwing a baseball. Yeah, you're throwing it hard from the outfield.
right.
Cool, but it's a different athletic thing. It doesn't quite work for me. I do like the photo, but it's the face. If you can zoom in on the face, it's just and I actually like this photo too because he's also wearing the cool like Oakley sunglasses that were really hot at the time. That
Yeah,
were like
that's like
his
OG
thing.
Ichiro on the Mariners when he threw out Terrence Long and guys at
Oh,
third.
the best throw.
Yeah, the something out of Star Wars throw, right? Like for me too, though, it encapsulates Ichiro doing something he was known for. That dude had a cannon for an arm, an
Oh yeah.
absolute rocket, and he was not even a big guy. And so I think for me that allows me to get past maybe some, like think about Tyler Glass now, right? He's like grunting
But
in the
see,
middle of a
there's
fastball. It's
like
like,
this is the other year, the encased version, but this one I really like because he's running and he's like doing a grimace, but it looks cool. Like he
I
looks
like
cool in this
that
picture.
way worse. That's funny. But then again, it just goes to show, right? If you put an action shot on a card, you're going to be able to create some variety. If you just put Ichiro just standing in the on deck circle, I don't think anybody's going to have a preference on the photo. Now they're just focused on the background of the card or the design.
Yeah.
Right?
Although there is like the 2003 or 4 ultra card of Ichiro where he's on the on deck circle, but he's like doing the squat, like stretching his legs.
Yeah,
where he's doing that crazy stretch, and you're like, this shouldn't
Yep.
be exciting, but it was like one of his things,
Right.
like
For
really
sure.
stretching. So it is another like characteristic of him. It's not an action shot, but it is like unique to the player. So I can
Right.
also kind of appreciate like LeBron James doing like the dust, like
Right.
there's a few of the horizontal cards of him doing like the chalk in his hands to the audience, like
Yeah.
not playing, but that's a LeBron thing.
Right. Well, let me ask this, and I'm going to show the comment since we had 6, and then somebody bailed when you said LeBron, so we better be careful with that.
Oh yeah, gotta watch that one.
Yeah. But for the 6 people that are here, what is one of the most iconic pictures on a card? And I'm going to bet that every comment that shows up here, the card will not have much technology on it. I can almost guarantee that. Right?
Or it's not even a consideration.
Yeah, right, exactly. So I would love to see what people think. I'm going to show what Matt said. Matt said 2017 to 2019 Stadium Club Rainbow Foil is definitely the best. Since then, seems like a different foil. I am going to ask Matt. I had a Tyler Glasnow Rainbow Foil out of 25 rookie from that year, and I will say that the foil didn't seem prominent enough to me. Now, that's my opinion. If a foil, like, the foil on these guys right here, they really pop when you see them. Like, not too much, but they really shine well. So for me, I think something was going on there. I'm curious. But again, we had a couple new people join. What is the most iconic photo on a card, in your opinion? Just first one that comes to mind. I'm gonna throw this to you, Ben, real quick. What is one of the more iconic photos that you, right off the top of your head, can think of?
So again, it's a Stadium Club card, and I actually don't have this card, but I would like to pick up a copy. Is the David Ortiz Stadium Club card with the American flag in the background, and he's talking, giving a speech after the marathon bombing. It's like an insanely iconic, cool, like it's Americana in a card. Like, we're gonna be okay. I got you guys. We're gonna come out here. Like, beautiful card, awesome photo.
Right. That makes me wonder, Ben, was there ever a picture of the Piazza home run? The 9/11 post 9/11 homer? Did that ever make it on a card?
I don't know. I mean, if Topps Now had been a thing back in the day, it certainly would have been.
Yeah, I mean, no joke, for sure. But I feel like that deserves to be on a Stadium Club card at some point. That's a great pick. I think for me, I mean, there's a picture of, I think a Stadium Club, they just have the best. There's a Bo Bichette Stadium Club rookie card that many people have seen with the Toronto skyline behind him.
Running out. I mean, that one's sick.
Such an amazing card. The Griffey from the Stadium Club Chrome that year. Griffey is like I can't bat lefty, so I'm gonna go righty. Like, the bat is right in position.
Oh yeah.
It's like, pants tucked into the cleats, like just straight up mid-90s Griffey, right before he's about to freaking drill one into the upper deck. Like that, or him stealing the home run from Luis Gonzalez. They've got that on a card on Stadium Club as well. So like those kind of photos, I was just thinking, like, Marc-Andre Fleury's biggest moment in his career, not on a card. They do have him raising his hands right after he won the cup. But like, all these iconic photos can completely negate technology in a way, right? And then when you add technology onto that, you've created an even more amazing card, just a little bit, right?
You got to have, like, Justin Jefferson's got to have some killer photography, right?
The catch, right? The catch against the Bills. That picture is probably on like 10 different cards. The first card that it got on, just the silver parallel, I mean, it was selling for like over $100. And I remember I got one for like 15. And yeah, you darn right, I just flipped that sucker around because it was the photo. The photo carried the card, That's a great pick, by the way, Matt. That's a great pick. Nobody else has a pick. It's a bummer. We had 8 people in here. I asked that question, 4 people were like, it's homework. I'm out. I'm not.
Yeah, I don't have to think that hard.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, it's something to think about. I guess the conclusion I'm trying to get here or to with you is do you agree? Like, if you have an amazing enough photo on a card, at that point, it's already amazing. So then you don't have to go crazy on the foil, crazy on the die cut, crazy on the low numbering and all this stuff. it already is an amazing card. And then you just add a little bit of subtlety to it with
Mhm.
technology, whether it's a foil pattern or straight up rainbow hollow foil. I think that is where you can find the most success,
Yeah, it
right?
sounds like what we're getting to is basically you're looking for a balance. You start with the great
Yeah,
photography, something that's going to be exciting to look at because it's the player doing their thing, and then enhance it without taking away from that.
right, right, for sure. No, I think that's a great idea. I just had one more example where the photo's not great, but the technology happens to. Well, I got two examples, but I'll show this one. This one doesn't need any crazy light, but the exclamation points from 97, 98 Flair Ultra or 98, 99. It's the Kobe Bryant, and it's like that piece inside
Oh yeah,
comes out of the card. So like this is all technology driven. Like Destination Cooperstown is another one for EX. Like the
yeah.
photos are not that great, or Intimidation Nation, right? But then look at this Justin Jefferson card. Now that photo right there is not real special, but look at
I
the
mean, that
foil
foil is
of this
so
thing,
cool.
man. This thing is absolutely crazy. And so, do you think I bought this card because the photo was amazing? No, not at all. I think
Right.
this photo has been used on, I think, 5 to 7 cards. Panini is notorious for doing that. But they
And like
killed that
this is
foil,
my
man.
example of technology. This could be literally any picture of Barry Bonds, and I wouldn't care.
Dude, that's so
It could
sick.
be. It happens to be a pretty decent photo of him, like kind of pointing to the dugout. Fine. It could be him picking up trash, and I wouldn't care because it's all technology driven on this card, right? Like the acetate, all of the colors in there, the stained glass look. Like that's one of those. That's an example where you just get the card because it's a cool idea.
Heck yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. That's a fantastic example. The 90s was all over that, right? Like the essential credentials, no, like I've talked about it before, the original essential credentials, I hate the photo of Alex Rodriguez so bad on there that I refuse to buy a copy. The one out of 99 with the stars and all
Yep.
that. Like he's like running with this weird look on his face, and they used it on the box, and I keep thinking
But
like
that's
I
to my point. When the weird look on their face is it's distracting, and that is a particularly bad one. I know
uh,
that card.
and I haven't. I've only been working there for like 3 weeks, but I really want to go in there and be like, Gene, why was this the photo of Alex? Like it was on the box art. This was the promo card. Why? He's running. Like Alex is not was not at that point. He was not known for running.
Yeah,
He
he
was
did
known
do
for
40-40, but he wasn't like that's
that
not
was
his thing.
year after. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. Anyway, bottom line, I think most collectors prefer a great photo over some crazy technology. I mean, there is one card, and I can't really give it justice because it's again, it's a really fascinating card with a lot of layers. But the Depth of Darkness from Topps
Hmm.
Black, that card I've wanted a Julio for a long time. I finally got one for a decent price. Dude, that thing is crazy because there's literally, if you look at the side, you can see how many layers
It's
are there.
thick. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I think at least one. I think it's 180 on the dot, but the layers and the foil within the layers in that card, one of the most unique things I've ever seen. And I think that's where you can maybe have another exception to the rule nowadays.
Yeah.
Is the photo of Julio is decent, like he's hitting like he normally does, but the technology just makes that card incredible. So I think for me, that's a modern example that I have. I don't know if you have one, but a modern example of technology really carrying the card as opposed to photos.
I mean, really, the last like big technology jump I can think that was like significant, that was exciting, was the booklet. Like the idea of a booklet
Mm-hmm.
was
Mm-hmm.
such a novel thing. Now it's sort of you get them in a lot of different products, but
Right.
really outside of them doing something like that, like the Depth of Darkness, or Panini's done a couple of things like that as well, where there's like a depth to the card. Like I know in Panini was it 2 and 3. Like I have a Mark McGuire auto from
Mm-hmm.
Panini 2 and 3 product that's got like a depth to it where he's cut out and he's on the front, and the autograph is on the front, and there's like a depth of field to the action shots.
Yeah.
The action shots in the background almost like it feels farther away. Like
Yeah.
that is cool, and I haven't really seen that before. Like that's sort of a new idea that's been thrown
Right.
around.
Yeah, no, that's a great example of booklets. I mean, what a great, that could be a whole discussion in itself about, I prefer, I don't like them because I haven't found a good one of Marc Andre Fleury yet.
Yeah,
I
I don't
have
own one either. I think they're cool. I don't own one.
Yeah, I would love for them to do certain things. I know those booklets from Alan Ginter, they're really amazing because they're super rare, but they also look really good too.
Yeah.
I do want to say, Matt, no, it doesn't bother me at all, man. I think if it fits in a one touch, it doesn't bother me at all. I don't. I have a glass card of Flurry that's like too big for a one touch, at least for now. That bothers me because it has to be in this weird little, double case thing that just doesn't allow me to display it well. Yeah, no, it doesn't bother me at all. But yeah, those are some great examples for sure. And again, I think it's just important for people to maybe think to themselves a little bit. That's why we're talking about this. Where are your preferences, right? Like, are you looking for really cool looking cards because of the technology, and then as long as your player's on it, you're happy? Or are you more focused on like, hey, maybe I should kind of stop just buying everything and look at what has a super cool photo of my player on it, right? Like, you look at John Shu, he's a big Scott Rowland collector, and he pretty much buys almost everything. But every now and then, if you read his blog, I don't know if you've ever read his monthly blog.
No.
Oh, dude, it's so good. I highly recommend the RowlandCollection.com to anybody that wants to go read his blogs. He scans in every card that he buys. He breaks it down per month. It's wonderful. Some of the best stuff out there. He has talked about how, like, I kind of stuck in this completionist mode, so I've got to buy this card of Rowland. Don't like the fact that there's no logos, and I don't like the photo of them. You can tell that if he had the choice to just kind of buy what he wanted, more or less, he would have skipped over those Panini cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there's always something to be said as you narrow your focus as a collector. I think we're all starting to head that direction post-COVID, 3 years out, 4 years out. That, hey, maybe I should maybe not just buy everything, but kind of wait to find one that's got an amazing photo first. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, and actually, it reminds me of a question you asked me because I had checked off some big Ichiro cards, and you asked me, like, what are the top 3 you're looking for right now? I was like, I actually don't have that list. I don't really think about it like that. It really comes down to like me going through my searches, kind of looking through other people's Ichiro cards, things that people post in groups, whatever, and like something has to kind of catch my eye, and it's either the photography or some sort of technology or a combination of the two done tastefully.
Right.
It makes me want that card. Like, sure, I have like a grail list. I could rattle you off some like crazy Ichiro cards, but those aren't like a realistic. If it comes up, I'm gonna go grab it right now. It's like if it comes up, we're talking. Those might be 5-figure cards. That's not like a on my top 3 list. I could go grab right now if it comes up, and I've been looking for it.
Right.
But it really made me think. Actually, to that point, one that like was not even on my list, but I ended up getting was. This is the 2018 Topps Chrome. This is the red refractor out of 5.
That best looking parallels, man. That Topps Chrome.
Great. I mean, yeah, this particular set, and this was not really on my radar for Ichiro cards, but it is like his last kind of full season. It's a cool picture of him doing the swing. Great photography, cool looking card. I was like, that wasn't on my list. Now it is. Now I have to have it. I saw it and was like, yeah, I need that. I need that card now. Now it went straight up to like top 3 for this week.
Right. Well, and I think that's a great example of the technology being like the way that they did the refractor colors and patterns combined with a great photo where you can find like the perfect card. Like I said, when you get that great balance of photography, technology, and design all kind of like combine into one, it really, I mean, there's very few cards that I think even nowadays I stop and I go, holy crap, this is like a perfect card. It's happened maybe half a dozen times this year. Like I don't know how often it happens to people that are in chat right now, but not often, right? And you have to jump at those cards unless it's like, the Ichiro Ultimate. Then you just appreciate it from afar, right? But there are definitely very few cards per year. And I wish I could say which one it was that I saw at work, but I was looking at some future cards coming out, and I saw Flurry, and I think I mentioned this the last time we did an episode. Like, a tear almost came down my eye because it's so perfect. Like, I can't describe. I can't wait to show however long down the road it's going to take. It's perfect. It is a perfect card. That's all I can say. It's a perfect card. And that doesn't happen often. So it would be fun to dive into that.
No, it is like when the stars align. I'm also curious for maybe you and anybody watching. Do you, when sets are coming out, look up the design and like the checklist? One, obviously look up the checklist, but do you look up the design and do you then see a design of a product where it would actually deter you from wanting to be interested in like opening the
Mhm.
product or
Yeah,
even
that
getting your player just based on the design of just
mm,
the base card?
and that's something we should definitely flesh out. I think I'm in an unfair advantage to where I can see a lot more than others can.
You
Like
can cheat a little bit.
I can, but I mean, I'll just leave it at that. But like in terms of knowing what it's going to look like, but I think in general, before I worked here at Upper Deck, I always would be like Justin Jefferson was the one I would always key in on because he has case hits, and those are always going to be most of the time very unique cards, whether it's
Hmm.
whether it's the technology, whether it's both, right? If, a lot of times photography is kind of rinse and repeat for Panini, but what are you going to do? So for me, I go and I look at uh, like, okay, well, let's this case hit. What do the color blasts look like? What does this look like? What does it?
Yeah.
But yes, I definitely have done that, and there's times where I've been like, there's a few where I go, I hate that design so much. I just can't bring myself to bid, to bid or purchase it because it's just so bad. It's definitely happened. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, has it happened to you?
Yeah, it's actually kind of why I brought it up is they released the Allen and Ginter design for this year. And it just they're moving too far away from what Allen and Ginter originally was. Like, I own the original, the
Yep.
1887, the full set of 10 baseball players.
Yeah.
Just gorgeous, like beautiful cards, that white card stuck on the back with the lithography of the players, like just beautiful cards. Now they're doing like it's like gotten too busy almost. It's like they're
Right.
trying to add to it. Actually, like a good example of early when they started doing Allen and Ginter would be like this one.
Oh
So they
man.
still have that sort of like plushy background, mostly white, very simple, and just highlight the player,
Right.
you know. And now this year they've got all this extra stuff with like a border, and it's like a very busy background. Like, and that's normally a box where I'll go buy a box of that
Mhm.
every year, just one box, just to open it, kind of like have fun with the product. They put wacky stuff in there. It's
Mhm.
fun to open. It's actually
Yeah.
the one product my wife will open up with me because they'll put like whatever national parks or sandwiches or whatever in there. That's kind of fun.
Right. That's right.
And like star other people, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So it kind of makes it fun. But it's like I wouldn't be excited to have any of the cards from it this year, just from the design. It's just
Well,
not Ginter to me.
I will say I'm just going to push back a little bit and say this, and I think I would say this whether I was working for a card company or not. I still think you should go try a box only because from a surface level, like when those images come out for any product that we release, there's some that look terrible because the whether it's the texture or whatever tech is on there, like foiling and etching and all that, you can't really tell, right? So I think either wait till a break happens and just watch, or it's one box of Allen Ginter, right? I mean, like, is that really going to throw you
Yeah, it's
completely?
like $110 or something. It's not a
Okay,
huge deal.
so in that sense, maybe give it a try and see, right? Because you can see if like maybe there's something like a hidden gem in there for you. But I think it's tough when you're rinsing and repeating the same style of design. It's just like when we do flagship Upper Deck. We have to try to. I'm not the designer, right? But I am somebody who has to come up with a vision of a set, not that one, but I have to have a
Yeah.
design. Yeah, and so you gotta get that to your designers, and hopefully they're going to bring it to life. And when you're rinsing and repeating a set that's been out for as long as Allen Ginter has, it is not easy to um, just keep doing the same thing and have it work. You have to somehow change it up. So maybe this is their way of saying, I wonder how this is going to work. And if there's a lot of pushback, then maybe it goes back to kind of the OG design, right?
Yeah, I guess maybe there's like a fine line between like staying true to the set and the feel that it's supposed to be and like iterating too much, where you start to
Yeah,
like deviate too far. And
yeah.
I know that's not easy. It's just
Hmm.
this is the first time, particularly this year, I was like, yeah, this doesn't really remind me. It doesn't. If it didn't have Allen Ginter on the name of it, I would not guess that it's like an Allen Ginter
Yeah,
product. It's like almost too far. So you're right.
yeah.
Maybe I should at least see it in hand, or at least watch a break or two, just to kind of get a feel for what's in there.
Right, and the
But
photography could be really good too, right? Because then the photography might make up for the design not being up to par for you, but the photos
right,
they chosen work a little bit better. I mean, who knows, right?
yeah. So I guess
Um,
it has happened. It's pretty rare that does happen, but this is the first time because I just like that product so
mhm,
much and like that the ode to the original baseball card so much that I'm
right.
like maybe I'm just also protective of it. I'm like, don't go too far. This is the origins of baseball cards.
I'm with you. You know, Matt McNeil would probably say the same thing about Stadium Club, and I would as well. So would you. If you started deviating away from it being a photography driven set and started doing like some gimmicky photos or you know, like photos that
Oh, you start
like,
putting borders on the card or something?
oh
Like,
yeah,
no.
you can't do that, right? You just cannot do that. So I do want to, for the last 15 minutes or so here, I want to kind of switch gears and, you know, especially being a former teacher, I'm always kind of wondering about this, but I want to springboard this off of something you got to do right after our last episode. You got to go to a Rip Tops Rip party, Rip night or whatever.
Yeah.
And obviously that's geared toward a variety of ages. I'm guessing there were plenty of kids there too, you know, people from the younger generations there. First of all, how was that experience for you? Because it's something I think a lot of people would love to participate in, but many haven't had the chance.
Yeah, so they the guys from Sports Card Nonsense, that other podcast, they live here in
Mhm.
Nashville. They were the ones that hosted the event through Tops. They did it at the soccer stadium here for our professional soccer team. Unfortunately, it was raining a bunch that day, and they did it on the concourse. It was covered, so it was fine, but like probably hurt the draw a little bit. But there was still a decent number of people there. They had some like former Titans there to sign autographs.
Right.
All the money for it was donated to the Children's Hospital here at Vanderbilt. So I just went ahead and got the VIP ticket, $75 donated to kids. Who's not going to do that?
Yeah.
And yeah, wide range of ages. It was almost exclusively like parents with their kids. So a lot of kids running around, and they really did a good job of, I mean, they must have handed out like thousands of Topps flagship just paper product from 2024 just for
Awesome.
free packs for kids. So people were just ripping packs. They had stations set up where kids could play games like toss a card. If it goes through the hole, you get like a free thing from Topps kind of thing.
Nice.
So
That's
they made it
awesome.
like, it was cool to see an event like that where they were really trying to like engage with a younger audience and like get them excited about it.
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah, totally different kind of event. And it was sort of a trade thing. Like I met with some other people and did a couple trades here and there with
Mhm.
people, like, but definitely more like chill than a card show. I would say card show is very much like we're doing transactions here, that kind of thing. This was like
Right.
guys were set up like you know, Sheps and Grand Slam at a table. A couple of different people had tables with cards, but that clearly like wasn't the goal of the show.
Mhm.
It's like we're here, we're just having fun. They were doing raffles and stuff. Like it ended up being like a really, it's a different take on like an event for cards to sort of just promote this is fun, it's a hobby, like keep it kind of light vibe.
Mhm.
Um, but the other thing that I saw there that I thought was really cool, speaking of like technology and card stuff, was
Yeah.
these guys from this company called Fan Stand that run like a card pack and box like vending machine.
Okay.
So they brought one of their vending machines, loaded it up with different products, and you could just select, and it would just like a vending machine, like rise up, drop a pack or whatever you ordered, and like bring it down and like dispense it to you.
That's cool.
And it's just something like it's fun to see people trying to find different ways to like engage or get people into the hobby, right? Because one of those, like,
Yeah.
you know, you might not go out of your way to go to an LCS, or maybe you stop by a Target and you see cards and you think maybe I'll grab some of those. But this is something you could just see at the mall and go like, oh, I haven't thought about cards since I was a kid, or like, oh, maybe my kid would like to get some cards. I'll just grab some from this vending machine. What an easy way
Yeah.
to like get somebody into the hobby that I don't think we've really seen before.
Yeah, I feel like there was something at the National when we were there a couple of years ago. I remember seeing a vending machine there when we went. Well, you weren't there 2 years ago, right? In Chicago. Oh, you were. You
No, I
were.
was.
Yeah, we just didn't get a chance to hang out, which is a huge bummer. But there were vending machines, but I think it's great because I want to really lead into like how is the hobby still being geared toward a younger generation somehow? Because I think we can all agree this has been talked about a lot, but just in summary, like the hobby is not built for children right now. There's no way it is
No.
built for children. No child, I want to say most children from an average level of income families to even higher, they're not going out and buying a box of National Treasures. They're not going out and buying a box of
They're not
Panini,
getting the cup if they're
Juan.
into hockey. They're not
Yeah,
getting the
they're not
cup.
getting the cup. They're not, they're not getting even like Black Diamond, right? They're just not buying that stuff, and so it's so important that you have Upper Deck Flagship. You have these other companies. You got Flagship Tops, and those are really the only two things that come to mind. But trying to keep the younger generation interested. Upper Deck is doing a lot of really fun events at like the Global Series or the Winter Classic. It's opening week in the NHL. They just did the first games were overseas, and there was Upper Deck booths set up there for photos where kids can take photos with sticks and have a jersey on, and lots of cool stuff like that. I just am kind of curious what you're seeing on your end of how we're keeping the young interested in the hobby, because it's so easy to just be like, like you just today. I got to give my buddy in Arizona, Tommy, a shout out. He goes, my like get into collecting and sell some cards, like
Yeah.
And what do you think the first picture of baseball sent me was?
Oh, the first what he said. Sorry,
like,
my dog is.
Hey, that's okay. Your dog wants to be involved in the conversation.
Yeah.
Once your dog and not the ones when I was back home in Alaska. So like the first picture that I got was Flagship Tops, and I'm like, no, like a retail box. I'm like, do not, if you're collecting to try to maybe sell in the future because of better person, don't do that. I said, no. Gotta go for like Update Jumbo or something like that. Update's got those crazy all-star patches in there. Like,
yep.
There's just so much knowledge that's not known, and I think it's so important to find ways to make it accessible for the younger generation. So even a jumbo box, yeah, it's a little, all the crazy stuff in there that you can get. Like I feel like that's the perfect product. Or you look at a Series 1, Series 2.
Yep.
Even O-Pee-Chee hockey, that's like MVP hockey. They're really nice, fun, cheap products for kids to get into. You need those things, right?
Yeah, and that's where I think retail boxes are still important, right? Like adults, I don't know that you should necessarily be opening retail boxes if you have the money to go buy like a hobby or a jumbo, right, but like a mega box of like Topps Chrome where you get 10 X fractors. There's like some potential for real value there if you're looking to get your kid into not just the hobby itself, but like maybe the business side of it.
Right. Sure.
It seems like kids these days get into it partially for the cards and the sports, but also partially because there's like you're learning how to run a small business at some point.
Yeah.
At least the kids that see it shows.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, this could be like your hobby, but also like this could be your chore kind of thing. I used to mow yards. These kids go around and buy and sell cards. And that's the way they make their money to buy soda.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of makes me amazed, but also sad when I see kids that are 12, 13, 14 going around at car shows and like trying to buy one that they can go then flip and all this other stuff. And in my mind, I'm just like, man, like you got to take some time to just enjoy collecting. And so what I told my friend, he's got 2 boys and a daughter, and they all like baseball. I wish he would have said hockey. So I'll probably, when I see him, I have to bring him a box of MVP or something. Hey, you got stuff out. It's pretty cool.
Get him hooked on it.
Yeah, exactly. It's saying like, hey, like find a way to find a product that is fun to learn about the players and look at the photography. So I feel like it's almost my responsibility to make sure this happens at this point, because kids are so impressionable that if you say, hey, look at all this money that can be made, that's the direction they're headed from then on out. It's like,
that's the whole goal.
We're all aware of that. Greg and Alan, you and me, we're all aware of that. I don't think that's the main thing that drives any of us to collect. Yeah, it's nice to know that my Kobe Bryants are very safe, but I didn't buy them knowing that I was going to have money to make down the road. I bought them because they're awesome. The cards look amazing. His photos are always awesome on his cards, right?
He's
flying through the air, like celebrating. Fleury, of course, his gear always looks unreal on his cards, and he's such a unique person. So like those kind of things are what keep you vested in the hobby, not the money. That's just my opinion. I don't know if that's how card companies are trying to think maybe now, or
at least have a skew that's that way for kids.
Yeah, like I'm always saying that like PWHL is said I want to work on really bad, like some more PWHL stuff in the future.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of young women are going to want to buy those cards just to have their favorite player in front of them. So like, how can we bring that to them? But do
Yep.
you feel like the hobby is headed in that direction at all? Or do you still think like, even after all the COVID peak and drop off, you think it's still being geared toward money like most of the time?
Yeah, because it's become a bigger business. Because there's more money in it now and being
Right.
spent in it, the industry as a whole has grown.
Yeah.
The money's going to continue to be the driver. It
Right.
is. I would like there to be like some skew or subset of each of the companies though that's kind of focused towards kids, because you're talking about like a lifetime customer. Like I actually wouldn't be collecting cards now or on this podcast talking to you at all if I hadn't gotten into it as a kid.
Right.
And as a kid, it was I told the story before, like doing chores around the house and my friend's dad giving us packs of 93 Upper Deck. For doing like 5 hours of chores, you got one pack of 93 Upper Deck to open. But it was like the joy of getting those and like putting them in at that point, just binders straight up and like
Yep.
trying to put the set together, like,
Yep.
a whole summer's worth of chores to try to put that set together kind of thing. And like
Right.
that's what creates like the stickiness for people that want to stay with it. Because
Great way to say it.
really,
Yep.
when it's just a money thing, you're gonna get bored, tired of it, lose out enough times that you're like, why am I still doing this kind of thing? You'll lose interest. There has to be some sort of like emotional part of it for you, and whether
Right.
that's photography, technology, a player, just having something cool you can hold.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be something else outside of the money that keeps you around as a collector, which is what I'm hoping all these companies, I know Upper Deck still does a good job of this. They did back in the day, like continues to think about like getting a customer for life, and that starts as a kid.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I love hearing from people at work where they talk about these certain sets. Like a great example is UD Canvas. Those are not expensive, but they look amazing. And I've many times been like, "Ah, I want to build the canvas set this year."
Mm-hmm.
The young guns, like staying away from the young guns, which are the rookies for people who don't know hockey. Those like Connor Bedard, he has a young guns. That's a rookie card, his flagship rookie card. Not the canvas young guns, but all the canvas cards. You could build the whole set if you waited for like, EPAC to come out and get them on ComC, and you buy them all for like 15 cents each, 20 cents each.
Yep.
Put the whole set together for like a couple $100, because it spreads over, I think it's 100 cards or 150 cards in 3 sets. So you're looking at 300 more cards. But as a kid, and I've heard so many people say like those are the first cards that caught my attention. And I'm not even a collector now that I work here, and I am. But before it was like, oh, the canvas cards, they look great. Companies doing something like that where the cards are really, really cool, but not expensive. And I honestly,
Yep.
I'm not going to sit on here and badmouth any other company because I'm just not going to get myself in trouble for that. But I think that we're doing a great job of keeping the kids in mind. We do MVP, which is super cheap to buy, like $40 a box.
I love MVP ever since the inception of MVP for baseball back in '99.
That was a great set, especially the super scripts, dude. Those are
but always been like, and it was one of those boxes where I believe that one was like 28 packs, like 12 cards per pack. You just got so many cards, and it was like an inexpensive product.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Remember Collector's Choice, same thing. And then we do O-Pee-Chee, which is awesome because there's these really cool photo variants. There's blank back parallels, which are always super, super short printed, and nobody knows how many there are. You've got the crazy rookie 3D cards, which are really rare. I mean, there's fun chase stuff in it, but a box is $60 and you can build a set. So like,
I'm going to sneak in one more, since you mentioned the O-Pee-Chee a couple of times. It's reminding me of one other thing I wanted to ask you, and it can be like the last topic we can wrap up, but especially O-Pee-Chee, that reminds me, how do you feel about like inserts or parallels that are like left off of a checklist or left off of the odds?
Easter eggs, yeah.
Like total Easter egg thing.
We like doing that. Yeah, I think we do that. We do that more than most, and I think it's fun because you want an element of surprise. You want an element. That's all I'm going to say because I got a lot to say about this, but there's a lot I can't say. I like having an element of surprise there, and I like people. And I've, as a collector, before I worked here, I wondered this. I'm like, what? I wonder if Marc-Andre Fleury is going to have an Easter egg. Like he might. Like he could have. Somebody pulled a you know, like in one product we last year there were these more of these retro acetate, you know, rookie cards from future called Future Watches, retro Future Watch
Oh
acetate.
yeah, yeah.
We've never done those before. We've done retro future or retro Young Gun acetates, but not the Future Watch. And so I saw the Crosby and the Ovechkin. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I wonder if they're going to do a flurry. So like, there's that element of surprise. I think is fun, and it's something we can hang our hat on. Do you tend to like those?
I think when done right, like intentionally, they're super cool and fun, and it just adds like an
Yeah.
extra fun element to the product. And again, for like kids, you open something you didn't expect it. Like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
It- the element of surprise is super fun. I think where, again, I'm not going to talk bad about another company, but I think a misstep might be like the Tops did like the Kevin Hart ones, where they photoshopped Kevin Hart tiny into pictures and like
Yeah. That's not it,
short
man.
printed them to like 52 or 50, whatever his height is, like 54 copies for 5.4 or something. Is like, this is not it. Like, the idea of an Easter
Yeah.
egg, I think, is super fun.
Yeah,
You have to execute on it. Like,
for
make it
sure.
something that's also desirable.
Well, like the
Nobody wants an
logo
Aaron
factor.
Judge card with a little tiny Kevin Hart in the corner. What?
Yeah.
Who is that for? Really? It's not even for kids. Kids don't know Kevin Hart. Adults don't want him photoshopped into the card. I'm just
Right.
not sure where. That's where it's like, do it. Don't be smart about it. Like,
Mhm.
make it something desirable if you're gonna do it.
Yeah, that almost belongs in like its own set that has like different characters that kids might identify with as they
Right. If
like.
you're gonna do that, put it in like Big League or an MVP set where it's like just for kids. It's like,
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
for kids. It's gonna have whatever in it that's like a kid's cartoon thing shopped in. Like,
yeah. No, I like that. I think you look at like Topps Chrome, were the logo fractor, not logo fractors, the ones with the giant team logos in the background. What the heck are
oh,
those
that
called?
was a new one this year. I don't remember the name of that parallel. It was like it has the big logo in the background with sort of like a cool like 80s style like
Yeah, yeah.
TV
I
sketch
don't think
design.
those counts, and I like that. The glass now looks amazing. Obviously, the Julio look does too with the giant Mariner. Yeah, I like
Really
more.
cool.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, exactly. So
Oh yeah.
I think you know, not to jump off topic here, but I think there's fun things you can do like that too that get kids interested because Tops and of course, you know, because you went to the Rip Night or MVP and Opeachy, you know, we're trying to do stuff that you know the kids themselves too can recognize and think is really cool. And so I can guarantee that we're definitely going to have you know, definitely going to keep that in mind. I want to keep that in mind, especially as someone who has seen kids get excited over a base card of Flurry or some others
Hmm.
like that brought in. They're like, "Whoa, that looks so cool!" And like that is something that's so impressionable that I really hope we are going to see more of. And I know we're going to see it in our end, but like other companies too, because if we're not going to get kids excited in cards beyond the value of what they are, that's the only driving force behind them. The longevity won't be there. There's no
No,
way.
they'll get bored of it. They'll want to move on to their the next hobby, their next thing they're doing, and
Yeah.
again, no stickiness if it's just that.
And it won't come back. Like for you and me and Greg, for all it came back, right? There's
Right.
something because it was ingrained in us at such a young age, you know.
Yep.
And I think that would be a fun thing to dive into at some point. Is like what made it stick? You know, what made this hobby stick for all of us? Because everybody has their own unique story behind them. We've talked a little bit about the Gwyn and the Joey Core and all that, but like
Yep.
getting deeper into that, there's more than just one card being cool, right? Like what was it? Was it the social side? Was it, you know, you being into art? So there's so many different factors, but those are the things that kids nowadays, despite all the you know technology in front of their faces and social media, I think you know that there's a lot of room to continue to grow that love for the kids. But we have to do
I
it.
think that goes to like innovation. How do you include technology in a card and innovation in a card that would be exciting for a kid? You know, like some of the stuff they're trying, like the AR like scan, and you get something that shows up on your phone that gives like additional stats for a player, something that's like exclusive to just being able to scan the card kind of thing, or
Yeah.
you get a highlight reel kind of
Oh,
thing from the player, like something to like engage kids. It's like different. Do I necessarily care about an AR card? Not really, but
mhm.
I get where the appeal to like a younger kid. Oh, I pull this card up. It's like even if it was a card of a specific moment, and then you could like AR
Yeah.
scan the card and boom, it pops up. and you can like watch that moment from the card where the picture was taken, kind of thing.
That is pretty sick. I'm more like a personalized, not personalized, but like a message like, "Hey, what's up? I'm Aaron Judge. Thank you for collecting my cards." Like, and then maybe he talks about the picture on the front. This
Yeah,
is
if I'd had that from Griffey as a kid, I would have been like obsessed. I would still have that card.
Yeah. And I would love to see us do something like that, you know, where, you know, you got Connor McDavid and pops on and says, "Hey, thanks for collecting my cards. And this photo on the front is very important to me because this was my first goal back home, blah, blah, blah." Like, there's so many different things,
Yeah.
applications for this that we could dive into. But I think the biggest thing is too, is I just want people that are going to probably, most of the people are going to watch this recorded, but you know, what can you do when you're at the shop, or whether it's with your family or with your family friends or your kids' friends or whatever, when you're at a card show, is there something you can do that can make an impression on them to help them deepen their love for the hobby beyond, you know, the money they could possibly make? You know, I think that is something we should all keep in mind, because it's so easy to get lost in how much stuff is worth nowadays. Because that's like, since COVID, right? Everybody was geared toward how much is it worth, and how much is it worth if it's a 10.
Yeah, there's layers to that too.
Oh, goodness gracious, man.
Actually, speaking of that, so I still collect. So when I got in before we head off, like,
Yeah.
I somehow still didn't have a copy of this card, the gold
Sick.
border.
Yeah.
And I got this one 7. It just went super cheap. This is coming out of this, and it's just going to be raw. It's getting cracked like tonight. And it's just going to be a raw version. Because, like, again, it's just one of those, I don't care about the tiers of the value of the card. Like, that's a beautiful card. The start of the gold border, 2 first ballot Hall of Famers. Like, it's just one of those that I kind of always wanted and kind of stuck around. Didn't really get one. It was like, this is perfect. A 7 is like a scarlet letter to most people. That's the perfect card for me to buy.
Well, hey, you could be like those weirdos that pay hundreds for a PSA 2 of a Ken Griffey Jr. It's like rookie. I'm like, hey, I'll wrinkle one up and send it in.
I don't understand that. Yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh, a 7, literally no one's gonna want this. That's like in it for the money. So I'll be able to get this for like probably cheaper than a raw copy.
Yeah,
I got it for.
That was perfect.
And it's about to become a raw copy.
Yeah. All right, awesome. Well, these are 2 great topics, and I just want to tell everybody our genuine plan is to do it on Sundays, right? 2 football games come on, and then the evening football game comes on. Not everybody's going to be watching that. So Sundays, we're kind of winding down from the weekend, getting ready for the week. It's a good way to springboard us into the week. So we want to be consistent, and of course, plan on bringing a third person on here and there, just so we can have more of a roundtable discussion. And so thanks for sticking with us. Those who are watching now, including Matt. Matt, you've been super, super active in the chat. We really
appreciate it, Matt.
Buddy. And so I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. Ben, as always, it's been a pleasure, dude. And great topics today. Really, really fun to talk about. And it's already got me thinking about, I
know every time we do this, my wheels just are spinning afterwards too.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts before we sign off?
Yeah. Balance in cards is like my big takeaway. Balance in design and balance in photography is such a big deal. And I don't think until we started like talking it out over the last hour, I didn't really it seems like that actually was always important, but it wasn't something that was like top of mind when I was looking at a card. But I'm realizing that's really what draws me to a specific card. And maybe that's why I don't have that top 3 of what are you going for with each row right now. It's like, it kind of depends. I need to see it. You know, if I don't see a photo and I don't know what it looks like, then I don't know if I'm going to like it or not.
Well, you can always go on Ray's website. He's got a scan of pretty much
everything. Oh, yeah. Ray. So, actually, Ray will probably watch this at some point. Shout out to Ray. A bunch of the cards that I showed, I picked up from Ray recently. So Ray rules. Yeah. If anyone on here or watches this is interested in Ichiro stuff, Ray is the man. He has the ultimate Ichiro collection, and he was kind enough to sell me some of his stuff. And yeah.
icollectichiro.com. Just go check it out.
Just go there and have a blast.
I mean, that and the other website too, John Shu, who is the RolandCollection.com. He's an engineer, and there will be no surprise when you see his beautiful organization on that website. But I highly recommend the blog on his website. He is extremely detailed, and it really makes me want to do a blog. I keep saying I'm going to do one, and it's just you got to sit down and at the end of every month just type out, what was your journey this month? What did you pick up?
Mhm.
What does it mean to your collection? I think if I got started, I can convince you to do it, and then maybe Matt and
Yep.
some other people to do it. So hopefully
We'll get this show on a regular schedule, then we'll get our blogs on a regular schedule after that, and then it'll go from there.
That'd be fun for sure. Well, I hope everybody has a great rest of their week. Ben, it's been wonderful, and we'll see you either this Sunday or next Sunday. We will definitely put that on our pages. So I hope everybody enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
See you guys.